Marcus Webb hadn't slept well in 3 years. Not since his wife passed away, leaving him alone with their daughter Emma. At 42, he'd learned to survive on shallow rest and strong coffee. So when his phone rang at 2 in the morning, he was already half awake. The number was unfamiliar. He almost ignored it. Then he thought of Emma, asleep down the hall, and every parent's worst fear kicked in. "Hello." A woman's voice came through, shaking and desperate. "Dad? Dad, I need you. Please come get me." Marcus sat up straight. "I think you have the wrong number." There was a pause. Then crying. "No, please. I'm at the Riverside Hotel downtown. Room 412. I'm scared and I don't know who else to call." Marcus should have hung up. Any reasonable person would have. But something in that voice reminded him of Emma. The terror was real. "What's your name?" "Victoria." "Please, just come. I'm sorry I bothered you." She hung up. Marcus sat in the darkness of his bedroom, phone in hand. The sensible part of his brain told him to go back to sleep. But the father in him couldn't ignore a frightened young woman calling for help in the middle of the night. He checked on Emma, still sleeping peacefully. Then he called his neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, who'd helped him countless times before. 20 minutes later, he was walking into the Riverside Hotel. The night clerk barely looked up as Marcus headed for the elevator. 4th floor, room 412. He knocked softly. "Victoria? It's the man you called." The door opened a crack. A woman in her late 20s stood there, red-haired and elegant even in distress. Her eyes were swollen from crying. "You actually came. You sounded like you needed help." Victoria opened the door wider. The hotel room was expensive, probably a suite, but she looked small and lost in it. "I meant to call my father," she said quietly. "I was upset and I misdialed. I realized it after I hung up, but I didn't think anyone would actually show up." Marcus stepped inside cautiously. "Are you hurt? Do you need a doctor?" "No, nothing like that." She sat on the edge of the bed, wrapping her arms around herself. "I found out tonight that my fiancé has been cheating on me. For months. With my best friend." Marcus had been expecting something more dramatic. A medical emergency. An assault. But heartbreak was its own kind of crisis. "I'm sorry," he said simply. "Everyone thinks my life is perfect," Victoria continued. "I'm supposed to be the successful businesswoman. My family owns half the real estate in the city. I have everything, right?" She looked up at him. "But I've never felt more alone than I did tonight. And the only number I could think to call was my father's. Except he's in Singapore on business. He's always somewhere else." Marcus pulled over a chair and sat down, keeping a respectful distance. "My wife died 3 years ago," he said. "Cancer. I remember the night we got the diagnosis. I felt exactly like you described. Completely alone, even though the room was full of doctors." Victoria wiped her eyes. "How did you get through it?" "One day at a time. And my daughter. She needed me, so I had to keep going." They talked until sunrise. Marcus told her about Emma, about learning to braid hair from YouTube videos, and burning dinner more nights than he'd like to admit. Victoria told him about the pressure of her family's expectations, about building a career in her father's shadow, about how she convinced herself that her fiancé loved her when all the signs said otherwise. "You seem like a good father," Victoria said as light began filtering through the curtains. "Emma's lucky. I'm the lucky one." Victoria smiled, the first real smile of the night. "Thank you for coming. Most people wouldn't have." Marcus stood to leave. "Take care of yourself, Victoria." "Wait," she said suddenly. "Can I give you my actual number? In case you ever need anything." "I owe you." Marcus hesitated, then nodded. 3 days later, his phone rang again. Victoria's name on the screen. "I know this is strange," she said, But would you and Emma like to have dinner? My treat. I'd like to thank you properly. Emma was suspicious at first. She'd been protective of Marcus since her mother died, wary of any woman who showed interest. But Victoria won her over by asking about her soccer team and actually listening to the answer. Dinner became coffee the next week, then a visit to the museum. Victoria started calling Marcus for advice. Small things at first. Should she fire her assistant? Was she being too harsh with her staff? You see people clearly, she told him once. You don't have an agenda. Everyone else in my life wants something from me. Marcus found himself looking forward to her calls. Victoria was brilliant and funny, vulnerable in ways she hid from the rest of the world. She treated Emma like a person, not an accessory. And she listened when Marcus talked about his fears, about whether he was doing right by his daughter, about the loneliness that still crept in late at night. 4 months after that first call, Victoria showed up at his apartment unannounced. She looked different, calmer, settled. I made a decision, she said. I'm stepping back from the family business. Not leaving, just not letting it consume me anymore. That's brave. I learned it from you. You rebuilt your whole life for Emma. You chose what mattered. She took a breath. Marcus, I know this is complicated. Our lives are different. But these last few months, you've been the best friend I've ever had. And I think it might be something more than that. Marcus felt his heart racing. I think so too. But Victoria, you need to be sure. I come with baggage. A daughter who'll always be my priority. A teacher's salary. A very ordinary life. Victoria stepped closer. I don't want extraordinary anymore. I want real. I want someone who shows up at 2 a.m. for a stranger because it's the right thing to do. I want someone who knows what matters. She smiled. I want you, both of you, if you'll have me. Emma appeared in the hallway, having clearly been listening. Mom would have liked her, she said quietly. She would have wanted you to be happy, Dad. Marcus felt tears on his face. Are you sure about this? He asked Victoria. I've never been more sure of anything. 2 years later, they were married in a small ceremony. Victoria had indeed stepped back from running the family empire, though she consulted part-time. She said she preferred being a stepmother and Marcus's partner. Emma was thriving, more confident with Victoria's mentorship, and Marcus had finally learned to sleep through the night again. Sometimes Victoria still teased him about that first call. What made you come? She'd ask. You didn't know me. I could have been anyone. Marcus would pull her close. Someone needed help. That's all that mattered. That's why I love you, she'd say. You show up. And he did. Every single day. If this story touched your heart, please share, and subscribe for more tales of unexpected kindness and second chances. Leave a comment below telling us about a time when someone showed up for you when you needed them most. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.